Grand finals. Man, I'm excited. This has been a ridiculous PvP so far.
So much PvP today, but I'm not sick of it at all.
I don't mind PvP. I don't mind any of the mirror matchups, honestly. I think they're very educational. They're one of the best matchups to do more analytical analysis in.
Yeah,
because
you learn so much general concepts about the game in like, as a whole.
And I think it's very critical to realize that mirror matchups tend to be players' weakest matchups because they're either they're just... It's like playing against yourself. It's very, very difficult because if you go build A and he goes build A, well, guess what? Build A beats build A.
It's so hard to make decisions from that scenario where you're both mirroring each other.
Yeah, so then it comes down to deviation. Like, how can I deviate from what he's going to deviate and come out with an advantage? And sometimes you'll do the same thing. You very, very often see games go the same way right up until the 10-minute mark. 4-gate versus 4-gate, for instance, tends to be pretty much in terms of tech paths identical things.
In many cases in a mirror matchup, you kind of are expecting the other player to think like you might be thinking, which might not always be the case if they're approaching the matchup with a different mentality. So, if you think, oh, well, this is not a good style to use, this is not a good time to attack, you may be caught off guard with something you're not familiar with.
Absolutely true.
And that's why it could cause frustration.
Unit composition is equally as important. If you have 5 Stalkers and 2 Zealots, and he has 3 Stalkers and 5 Zealots, well, depending on your engagement and where you engage, you can come out with a huge advantage because you have that range composition. Then again, if you engage in an area where you can't choke out those additional Zealots, you can come very, very far behind. So you have to look at it that way.
On the topic of engagements, I think this map is actually going to be really, it's going to come down to...
it's an engagement focus.
Yeah,
agree.
It's going to totally come down to where exactly they choose to engage, and more specifically, if one of the players goes for an expand, can the other one successfully split up the units and either be blinking into the main or using a warp prism or some other form of harass to really, do some kind of damage, even that out. Because honestly, a lot of the games I see on this map that are PvP are one player going blink obs, another player going immortal expand, or both players going
blink
robo, and then one player staying on one base and going with a warp prism, the other player trying to expand.
Now, do we think OpTiKNemesis is going to go for that 3-gate explosion, favoring Dolphin, and of course Siphon that 2-gate explosion? Or do you think, it's time where these players have been playing enough games at PvP that they have to kind of maybe shift their build orders a little bit? I really think that it's time to bring on some Phoenix play. I'm dying, man. I think it's...
Yeah, but again, this map, though, it's just not necessarily the greatest for that. There's not really a lot of room to maneuver around. And since Blink is already so popular, that's already kind of a decent counter to the Phoenix style. But I think, at the very least, we'll be seeing either some Blink obs in this map or potentially some kind of... The 3-gate expand is also very good in this map, too. But
second gate going down for Siphon there.
Siphon doing this 2-gate. He may be doing that chrono of the 4 Stalkers again into Twilight Council. That would be a very solid way to approach the match.
Yeah, he's pretty good on probes here. He's pretty much saturated on this current layout. He has 1 gas, 16 probes on minerals, which is the optimal amount that you can have. Chrono Boost going to the Cyber Core as well. Stalker coming out. Now the question for here is gas steal again from Siphon. And so he'll pretty much say the same thing. He gas steals to kind of prevent his opponent from teching to hard countering his tech, which I think is interesting, and B, to gain vision. I think that vision is more important.
Yeah, you get vision over exactly what the Chrono Boost is being spent on. The Cyber Core is just a little bit out of the range, which is actually a smart move. It's always good to keep your Cyber Core kind of out of the range of that gas, if because you don't always have control.
Oh, it's 4-gate, man. He only sees the 1 additional gateway, so he's going to assume 3-gate or 4-gate.
And you know what? He's not going to be doing the hardest of chrono boosting on that cybernetics core, so it's not going to necessarily look like a hardcore 4-gate in OpTiKNemesis' point of view. He's going to look at the Nexus and be like, all right, there's only 1 chrono boost on there, maybe not a super 4-gate, but in fact, he's just going to go for a 4-gate, straight up.
Yeah, 1 Zealot, 1 Stalker out, so it's actually skipped the second Stalker in favor of getting... units out. Nope, there's a second Stalker.
He actually will have more than enough chrono boost to finish that one up.
Now, can Siphon sniff out this 4-gate, though? This is what these 3 Stalkers are designed to do. They're designed to shut down this
Siphon's
pylon.
3-gate, I believe, with only 1 gas.
No, he's on 4-gate as well.
Oh, 4-gate. So his warp gate's going to be just finishing up now. So honestly, I think he'll be in just a perfect position to hold this off.
It's going to be tight, though. I mean, he actually was able to sneak out 2 additional Zealots, which is pretty crucial.
It's going to be, these Stalkers are out in position, but he needs to be careful and pull back immediately. May lose shields on one of these Stalkers. but actually, does not want to lose any of these stalkers either. So
Nemesis
good
is
job.
very, very good micro,
Yeah.
bringing that one stalker back.
Hanging with
that
those
one.
zealots is going to just keep a nice buffer here in between the stalkers and the enemy units. So I feel
Ooh,
like the
wow.
longer this goes on, this is just going to favor a Siphon immensely.
But now it's 3 stalkers versus 4.
But they're both on 4 gates, so you have to remember that.
Defensive 4 gates.
Yeah,
have the
and
advantage.
what is the probe count for both players?
Siphon's at 24, 20
Yeah,
for Nemesis, so Nemesis is in a very, very precarious situation to say that his
And
economy.
you know what? Those 4 probes are going to make all the difference as this 4
That's
gate
an extra
goes.
zealot, man.
Yeah,
That's
as it goes. Well, no, as it goes on and on, though, he's going to have more mineral intake. So there comes a point with the 4 gate where you're just starting to taper off in how much you can actually afford. And while OpTiKNemesis is struggling to make that 4th unit every warp in, Siphon's going to be a lot better off.
Yeah, and using the zealots to block the stalker movement. Now, if he gets onto the high ground, which is what he's trying to do.
Yeah, this could be big, but will he be able to do a warp in? And he does. I think there may need to be some probes being pulled right now because this is just a big warp in. And will he be able to hold it off?
And 2 more zealots being warped in. It's going to come to the zealots down here.
Yeah,
Nemesis.
Siphon needs to stall. Pulling probes very wisely. He knows there's nowhere to retreat, and he knows that he can afford to lose just a couple of probes here. Doesn't want to lose more than 4, but just going to hold this off and should be building probes behind it, which he's doing. Such a smart play here for Siphon. He knows where his advantage lies, and he's going to capitalize on every bit of it. Pulling back, microing perfectly. These zealots are just going to go to their death pretty much, trying to pick up a couple
of and there's no gas money, so he will get 1 probe. This actually
Yeah.
could be really bad. 8 workers have gone down for Siphon. He's actually behind the probes.
That's actually he shouldn't have lost any probes right there at the end. Only 1 stalker at the top. There was no reason to leave 4 stalkers to deal with that.
Oh, there's actually a pylon in the main of.
Was there a counterattack there?
There was. There actually was. He took out only 3 workers.
All right, well,
worker count still favoring Nemesis by 2. It's very, very close game here, but both players are going to lose proxy pylon.
But now there's a counterattack. Siphon knows he lost probably a few too many workers in that engagement, so he's going to make something happen, and he sees the sentries too, so as long as he has a pylon up, he could make something big happen. Sentry's terrible in a direct engagement, so this is actually just a perfect scenario. I believe those were warped in before he realized the pylon was in his main. Probably thought they were being walked, like, walking up from the low ground, losing a sentry, so as I think
he can't even afford getting that stalkers, man. He's so pressed. All he can get is zealots.
Because he spent the 100 gas on sentries.
Yeah, well, he didn't even have the minerals.
Dancing those zealots, and it's GG. Siphon takes the game. 2-0 so far.
2-1.
2-1, sorry.
Dude, he held off that cannon rush.
Right. Of course. I've totally forgot.
Siphon looking to take it, man. He wins the next game. He will be up 1 series, and they'll go to another best of 5, which will be a very, very something you don't see that often.
Yeah.